Hi, my name is Brandon Shannon. I'm the founder of Brandon Shannon Entertainment, and today I'm interviewing Tyler, the sports broadcaster for a sports network. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited for the conversation ahead. I appreciate you taking the time. Are busy scheduled to join me?
Absolutely.
I have a few questions for you.
Okay.
What are your responsibilities for being a sports broadcaster for Sports Network?
So it's pretty interesting. So I get to do a lot of different things. So I work at the Delmarva Sports Network. We're in Salisbury, Maryland, which is on the eastern shore of Maryland, just south of Delaware. And so we are a sports network, but we're also a part of just a normal news station. And so, we're a part of a station that owns three different news stations. Then we have our own separate sports channel as well. So our sports channel, our sports network, we broadcast 5 or 6 games a week where we do all of our own live production. So I get to do play-by-play broadcasting for that part of it. And then we also have a 30-minute show Monday through Friday every night called The Final Score. So I get to anchor some sports shows. And then also we record the normal 2-minute sports segments that you'll see on the normal 6 o'clock news every night. We also record those and send those to the news stations we work with. So I get to do a little bit of everything, but it's mostly play-by-play, anchoring, and then reporting as well.
So for me, I have a YouTube channel. So just like you, I got responsibilities. I make sure I put out professional videos, and I use CapCut to edit, and I also use Canva to make green screens.
That's awesome. I use Canva a lot for my prep sheets and my research sheets for when I call games.
And how do you like being a play-by-play broadcaster for Johns Hopkins University?
It's cool. So I've only done a few games for them so far. So I've made the drive to Baltimore, I think twice so far, and I hope to do it more. But I'm just freelancing for them. So it's one-off things. They'll say, hey, we need a broadcaster for this game. And I drive over there, and it's been good. They've got a lot of really talented teams at the Division III level. So I've been there for field hockey. They have a top 10 team in the country for field hockey in the Division III level. And then I've also been there for volleyball. And it's been a fun time. They've got a great crew. And, a lot of people think, oh, it's just D3 sports, but they play very high level D3 sports, and they've got a great behind the scenes crew that helps out. So, I haven't been there a lot, but when I have been there, I've really enjoyed it.
And what is your dream team to broadcast for?
So my dream team to broadcast for would be Syracuse University. So I grew up in and around Syracuse. So I spent 18 years of my life there. And then I spent another 4 years there because I was at school there. I went to Syracuse University. So I grew up cheering for their teams. Then I got to broadcast their games on the student stations in college. But if one day I got to go back and be the voice of Syracuse, that would be really fun.
Well, my team is Duke Blue Devils.
Duke's had our number in pretty much every sport the last few years.
Who's your favorite sports team?
So Syracuse is my favorite sports teams for most of the college stuff. And then at the professional level, I'd say the team I pull the most for is the Buffalo Bills. I've loved the Bills since I was a little kid. And from the time I was born until I was a sophomore in high school, they did not make the playoff one single time. But there was a beauty in that I could enjoy how bad the Bills were. It's almost, it's been interesting with Josh Allen, the quarterback, and the team's been very good. So I like that. But then the downside is we get so close every year to making the Super Bowl and then don't. So it's been nice having a good team the last few years, but it's also a little unfortunate when you watch your team get so close and can't quite get across the hump. But maybe this is finally the year. We'll see.
And what got you started in broadcasting?
So in middle school, I started to get the vibe that I was not going to be a professional athlete. And like a lot of people, I started to look at, hey, how can I be involved in sports somehow? And I always liked talking. So I was like, oh, maybe I can talk about sports. And in high school, I interned at Syracuse University, helping out with some behind the scenes athletic communications, PR type stuff. And that was fun. But then when COVID hit, my senior year of high school, fans were not allowed to go to the high school athletics games. And so we started broadcasting the games. And I got a little bit of experience my senior year of high school. I'd wanted to do it for years before that, but that was the first time I actually got to try. And I was not that good. But then I went to Syracuse the next year and I got involved in 2 different radio stations and the Citrus TV, which is our student TV station, got involved with the ACC network. So I did as much as I possibly could once I got to Syracuse. And, I'd say I'm officially in year 6 of being involved in sports broadcasting.
And my dream is to broadcast for the Charlotte Hornets.
That would be pretty cool. I mean, they've got a very talented broadcaster that went to Syracuse University for grad school, and I assume you enjoy how excited he gets during their broadcast, right?
Oh, I do, yes.
Eric Collins, he's very good.
And have there been any broadcasters or mentors who particularly influenced your style?
I've always tried to listen to the advice of a lot of broadcasters because there's a lot of great broadcasters that went to Syracuse University that always give us advice. And one of their main pieces of advice is usually do your own thing, find your own style. You don't need to necessarily copy anyone because then you're not being authentic. But obviously, you take things from different people over the years. And so there were a lot of, guys in the grades directly above me at Syracuse that I tried to take some mentorship from. And then I just tried to take little pieces of who I like, that are professionals. I'll give you some names that, might not be the biggest names in the world, but I think they just have a great style. So there's Mike Cousins. He was a Syracuse alum from the early 2010s, and he works for ESPN. He does some radio and TV stuff for them. I just think he has he's just very clean cut, very crisp. He just has this sense of he always knows what's going to happen and he knows what he's going to say. And I just think he has a very clean style of broadcasting. I've looked up to Sean McDonough for several years, and he's just got that big game vibe to him. And so on a big call, when I'm broadcasting a game that I think is particularly exciting, I try to match what he does in the big moments. And then, to go for a super big name, Mike Tirico, I've looked up to for a long time. And I think the specific part of his broadcasting that I try to go after is he's such a good storyteller. I mean, you watch a game and it feels like you're sitting down in front of a fire and he's telling you a story. And so I try to embody different parts of different people. But I think the big thing is just like everybody, just like, you want to be your own person, have your own personality. So there's a lot of guys I try to listen to and embody a little bit, but I never want to go too far and just copy them.
And do you have any advice for me wanting to get started in broadcasting?
Yeah, I'd say there's a few things. So one, never say no to an opportunity. You want to take every opportunity you get. I mean, I remember in high school being color commentator for a middle school swimming and diving broadcast. Not very fancy, but those repetitions when you're still learning get you a lot better. And then just over prepare. A lot of broadcasters will say if you use, 10 or 20% of all the preparation and research you did in the actual broadcast, that's pretty normal. So I always like to do the extra bits of research, and I'll, look at things that I might not think will matter. I'll look at what people's majors are in college when I'm broadcasting a college game, or I'll check the Instagram pages of an athlete and see if it shows that they're interested in this hobby, if there's any sort of extra story I can work into the broadcast. So I always try to make sure I don't say no to opportunities, and I do extra research because you always want to have something to say. There's some broadcasts that can get slow, or it's a blowout, or it's a sport where you don't need to call the action so much like soccer. So you always want to have a story to tell. And yeah, that would be my advice.
I appreciate it. And also, I appreciate you coming on today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.